I have personally never witnessed drugs and or products being tested on animals. However, animals are sometimes used for the testing of drugs to determine the medical safety of the vaccine. I feel like everyone should be aware of the pros, cons, and the certain tests that are done and how testing affects the animals that are involved. This is a prime opportunity to acknowledge my classmates and citizens about the issue. Many people have opinions on this topic, but I have yet to experience testing drugs and products on animals firsthand. Even if you are just now hearing about this concern, I feel that it is vital for everyone to take notice of this matter. I believe there are 4 main points everyone should know: the pros of testing drugs, the cons of testing drugs on animals, the types of animal testing, and how testing can affect animals. I will now take you through the 4 positives of testing drugs and products on animals. First, everyone should know some of the positives of this issue, so therefore they can be better prepared for taking their own stance on the topic. There are many positives of testing drugs on animals. The first 2 positives I would like to inform you about are that the issue helps researchers to find drugs and treatments, and secondly, improves human health. According to About Animal Testing, the first and foremost pro for animal testing is that it aids researchers in finding drugs and treatments to improve health and medicine. Many medical treatments have been made possible by animal testing, including cancer and HIV, drugs, insulin, antibiotics, and vaccines. The animal testing article also tells us that it improves human health. For example, it is for this reason that animal testing is considered to be vital for improving human health, and is also why the scientific community and many members of the public support its use. The last 2 pros or positives of animal testing are that it helps ensure safety of drugs, and lastly, the alternative methods of testing do not simulate humans in the same way. Also, harmonizing with About Animal Testing, helping ensure safety of the drugs is another important aspect to note, in that animal testing helps to ensure the safety of drugs and many other substances humans use or are exposed to regularly. In translation to About Animal Testing, alternative methods of testing do not stimulate humans in the same way. For instance, scientists typically use animals for testing purposes because they are considered to be similar to humans. As such, researchers do not recognize the limitations and differences, but the testing is done on animals because they are thought to be the closest match with the best one that regards to applying this data to humans. Although these positives are important, there is more information that you need to know about testing drugs on animals. However, now I believe you should be aware of the 4 cons on this issue. According to Health Research Funding, there are particular cons that you should also know to have a fair judgment about the issue and weigh your decisions properly. The 2 cons this article informs us about animal testing are that almost 95% of research animals are not covered, or they say protected, by Animal Welfare Act, and that tests made with animals can mislead researchers with ignoring potential treatments and cures. Speaking on the first contrary, given that there are particular animals alone that are protected by the Act, other research animals can be used in the experiments and tests may not be protected for their rights. The second con on this website tells us is that whenever there are potential treatments or cures that animals' bodies would reject, there is a great chance that the cures may be shelved due to the relevance of the animal's reaction to the humans when the particular drug is used. You now know some of the pros and cons of animal testing. Now I'll explain to you the type of animal testing that are administered. It is important for you to know about the different types of animal testing that are done, so therefore you can better take your stance on this issue. According to the American Anti-Vivisection Society, there are many types of animal testing are done on these animals. I will tell you about two of these types. One being skin corrosion, and the second one being dermal penetration. Skin corrosion tests assess the potential of a substance to cause irreversible damage to the skin. Skin irritation tests determine the level of damage caused to the skin, such as maybe itching or swelling and inflammation. These tests are typically performed on rabbits. The second one, dermal penetration or skin absorption test, analyze the movement of a chemical through the skin and into their bloodstream. In this test, rats are mostly used. After the chemical is administered, the rats are killed. I will now enlighten you about how the testing on animals affects them. According to the loss of an animal life, it doesn't just occur when the experiments fail, but also occurs otherwise, as most of these animals are enthusiastic after the purpose of the served. Also, the loss of animal life mentions how these few which survive the harsh procedures spend the rest of their lives in captivity, that the researchers take efforts to minimize the suffering of these animals doesn't really sound convincing, as they are kept isolated in the cages, infected with various diseases, and tortured with various chemicals, all in the name of research. Also, in reference to the loss of animal life, several animals died due to human errors occurring either in the concentration of the drug or the amount. Most importantly, I hope I have opened everyone's eyes to acknowledge you about the testing of drugs and products on animals. Even though I'm not a scientist and do not plan to become one, for one, I am glad because I do not agree with the testing of these drugs and products on animals. Yes, in doing this, it improves human health by finding treatments and drugs that will fight cancer, HIV, and many other ugly diseases. I do not agree with the harming of innocent, helpless animals. I hope you will take a stand with me on this issue. I plan to send in my speech video to PETA, P-E-T-A, in hopes that they see it and just notice that someone out there has an opinion and voice for these animals. I also plan to send in a paper with signatures from people that agree with me on this issue from the class or around the Grayson campus. Remember, some may see this issue as a scientific and others see testing drugs and products on animals as unethical. Whether you decide to take part of one or the other, I feel like it was my job to inform you about these facts on animal testing. In conclusion, I hope to more acknowledge you on this popular issue we have today, testing drugs and products on animals.